if you have a heart to serve, a willingness to listen, and to read, you are above 99% of folks in, in local office. And you should be a part of the ecosystem. You don't just have to complain, you could do something about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Mick Unplugged. And today we've got someone that I call a hero. He became Stockton's youngest and first Black mayor. He's a national leader in universal income, and he's a change maker redefining what's possible in American cities. We're talking about from poverty to policy, from vision to impact. He's bold, he's visionary, he's relentless. He is Stanford's finest. We're talking to none other than Michael Tubbs. Michael, how you doing today, brother?
Wait, first of all, that was way too kind. Thank you. I'm good. I appreciate the kind word.
Well, I had to be kind because I'm a UNC Tar Heel grad, and for whatever reason, Stanford now plays in the ACC. So the kind words just kind of stopped right there because I'm going back into my ACC roots, and I don't like Stanford anymore.
But where are we now? We're like,
But as long as I was
I
just
was
going
gonna
to
say,
say, as long as you beat Duke, I'm okay.
what's funny, growing up, I went to go to Duke because I loved Coach K. I know it's sacrilegious for you, but I went to be a Cameron crazy, um, but didn't get
Oh,
in. So that's part of the reason why I ended up at Stanford.
ladies and gentlemen, the shortest podcast we ever had. No one has ever come on here and said they wanted to go to Duke, and I've let them stay on this podcast. That is amazing. Oh man. But no, Michael, again, just honored to have you on. I know you're a busy man, busy schedule. So just taking a few moments with us means more to me than literally you'll ever know. Man, for me, a question I've always wanted to ask you is, what's your because? That thing that's deeper than your why, like knowing the journey of your youth and how you grew up and all the things that you've accomplished. When, if I'm being honest, right, like the odds were stacked against you. Like the Michael Tubbs that's before me today might not have should have been here, right? Like, what's your because? What's your purpose? What's your passion that keeps you going, brother?
I appreciate the question, and I think it's part of it was in the question you asked, and I think I just feel so blessed in knowing that my story is so unlikely that
Mhm.
everything I've been able to do is so not what statistics or not what even like wisdom would
Yeah.
tell you is possible. So I just really feel a big responsibility to make stories like mine less rare. So to really
Mhm.
illustrate to people that you can find talent, you can find intelligence everywhere if we
Yeah.
create more opportunity. So that's really sort of my because, and it's really because, and I think it's just having really deep proximate experiences with the issues I work on, having an incarcerated father, being born in poverty, having loved ones be murdered and victims of gun violence, and it's like, well, to have all those experiences and then to have the ability or the opportunity to go to a Stanford, it just felt like it had to be for something bigger than me being successful, or it had to be for something bigger than me being comfortable. That maybe I'm here for a reason, and I truly believe that reason is to just make it so that our government works for everyone, and that we live in a
Yeah.
society that respects the dignity and the potential of all people, and that allows people to just have a shot, a chance.
I love it, man. I love it. I like to say, Michael, one of the reasons you're my hero, right? Even though I'm a little bit older than you, is you got to live what I call like the true American dream, right? Like it's rare. I mean, we could probably count on digits how many people can go through what they've gone through in their hometown and then become the leader of their hometown, right?
Mhm.
And can make changes to impact lives and hopefully help people not go through some of the things that you went through. What was that like for you when you could sit at the desk and say, wow, I'm the mayor, I'm the leader of my hometown, man? Because that's something that I've envisioned, but it's like, I don't think I could fathom it, man.
Yeah, honestly, I've only been able to reflect on it since not being there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, what a gift. Wow.
Yeah.
What an honor. Wow. What an awesome responsibility. But while being mayor, I think for better or for worse, just was laser focused on like the really real problems we were trying to solve. And I think part of it was a maybe a defense mechanism because the problems were so big. I was worried that if
Mm,
I spent too much time thinking about me in the seat, it would be
yeah,
paralyzing and cause me not to do anything for fear of making a mistake or fear
yeah,
of doing the wrong thing or fear of getting it wrong. But now looking back, I'm like, wow, like to sit in the seat and talk about the street I grew up on, to talk about the schools I went to talk about to do things for the coaches and the mentors and the church ladies that mentored me um, was such a gift. But I would say to answer your question, I do believe that while I was mayor, I was cognizant of what an awesome opportunity it was, and how
mm,
many people who've experienced the worst of a city, of a community, very rarely get to be in a position of authority to
yeah,
fix that. So I think I
yeah,
carried it was a not a burden, but a real responsibility and a real focus on like, no, this is not for some other people.
mm,
It's for me. It's for my
yeah,
family. It's for my neighborhood. And how do we govern in a way where it also feels different? I would tell my staff all the time that folks are expecting something different. They voted for a young person. They voted for a black person as mayor for the first time ever. They voted for someone who came from the not the best school and on the wrong side of the track. So the way we govern, the way we talk, the way we prioritize has to be different.
mm.
It can't just be the same. And I think that mandate also gave us the courage to be bold in some of the things we tried to do.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. And I told you offline I have family that's from there and still lives out that way through marriage. I'd love for you to tell the listeners and viewers who don't know Stockton, California, like describe Stockton when you were growing up and then describe it now, right? Just so that people get a sense of what Stockton was like for Michael Tubbs growing up and then the impact and change you were able to make to where Stockton is today.
Yes, Stockton is a very interesting place. It's the most diverse city in the entire country. You have over 100 languages spoken in our public schools. You have um, refugees from Laos, refugees from the Khmer genocide in Cambodia, refugees from Vietnam. You have Sikh folks and folks from Pakistan. You have Chinese folks who've been in the city for hundreds of years. You have Japanese folks. You have 10% of the population is black. 9% of the population is Filipino. At one point, Stockton had more Filipino people living there outside of it, more than any other city outside the Philippines. You have
Mm,
Larry Itliong, one of the great Filipino American union organizers from Stockton, lived in Stockton. Dolores Huerta met Larry Itliong and Cesar Chavez in Stockton. Like
mm,
Maya Angelou spent part of her childhood in Stockton, and so it's an amazing place where worlds cross and intersect, but also a place with real challenges. It's a city that historically has been agricultural with a lot of migrant farm workers, but it's also very urban, with very urban city problems. Growing up, my neighbors were Latino on this side, Hmong on this side, Indian across the street. Like it's a like the shared experience was like poverty, but
yeah.
there was such different cultures all intersecting, interacting in a very interesting way. And growing up, Stockton also had its challenges. I remember in high school being a high school junior, and we had to read the newspaper every day. And I remember reading an article that said lowest in literacy, highest in crime, and it talked about how Stockton had the lowest literacy rate in the country of the top 100 cities, and also the highest crime rate per capita. And I remember a lot of my classmates internalizing that, and a lot of us writing our college essays about what it's like to aspire for higher education in a place where it's lowest literacy, highest in crime. I remember my senior year in high school, we were declared the most miserable city in the country. And I remember just signs around, and being a young person, like I'm not miserable. I'm 17 years old. I'm getting ready for prom. So that was Stockton growing up. But it was still home. So there's a lot of love, a lot
Mm,
of best friends, a lot of like culture, a lot of who I am comes from that experience. But I remember being a young person thinking like, wow, why does everyone think it's so bad? Like, why is it so bad? And then
Yeah.
going to college and learning about policy and learning about sort of government actions and decisions and how those have a big influence on the environments people grow up in. So that's Stockton then. Stockton now still isn't perfect, but I mean, we were named an All-American city 2 of the 4 years when I was mayor. We're in Forbes, not for being miserable, but as
Yeah.
part of Forbes 30 under 30, and also for the innovative work we did. Um, we were being known for solutions instead of problems. So people were like coming to Stockton not to study the pathology of poverty or the pathology of violence, but they were coming to see like how do we reduce homicides by 40%, like we did when I was mayor, or how do
Mm.
we do this guaranteed basic income thing and
Yeah.
emulate it when I was mayor? Or how do we do this universal scholarship program so that every kid in the city that has the lowest literacy rate in the country that graduates from high school is now guaranteed a 2 year, 4 year, or trade school scholarship? So we didn't. I mean, still work to be done, but just the narrative of the city shifted. And like
Yeah.
I was most proud of again what I mentioned in that folks were finally coming to look to us for solutions and not just for problems.
Yeah.
And the city's about 300,000 people, so 330,000 people now actually. The fastest growing community in California with Bakersfield,
Mm.
currently, and it has about the same size as Cincinnati, same size as Newark, New Jersey. But oftentimes a very smaller town mentality that we did a lot of work to try to change.
Mm. Mm. That's deep, man. That's deep. And I have a couple of questions that I want to ask you specifically to give insight to our viewers and our listeners, because I'm a big, huge proponent as a business leader, as an influencer, as someone that's in the media of being a part of your hometown or whatever the town is that you live, and being a part. You don't have to be in government, but partnering with your city officials and understanding how government and policy truly works. Because a lot of times, man, like people hear noise and they say, "Oh, well, I would do this and I would do that." But the reality is, man, like even the mayor, yeah, you can make decisions, but it takes people rallying with you. It takes people supporting you to get things done. Talk to the viewers and listeners about the importance of that, of partnering with your local government, your city officials, and what that means for you as a city official.
First of all, thank you. Where were you 4 years ago? Right, this is like super important. Um, yeah. First of all, like for every elected leader, but particularly like your mayors, your council members, your school board members, those are just folks. Those are literally just folks from your neighborhood. Like
Right.
senators, congress people, that's a little bit different. They're folks too, but they're like really in the beast of like national policy making. But your
Yeah.
mayor, your school board member, your council people, those are regular folks who
Yep.
go to your schools, who go
Yep.
to the grocery store, who are really part of your community. I think people lose sight of that because like they're in politics. Like, yeah, but they're literally a person from your neighborhood who a bunch of
Yep.
people in your neighborhood voted for. And I say that because I think it's freeing in that you can do that too. Like
Right.
you can also do that role if you wanted to, but be also like these folks like are not all knowing. Like we need help. Like we're doing the best we can. We see the same stuff you see. We're not in DC. We see the homeless encampments. We see the tents. We hear the gunshots. We are aware of the problems. The issue is not having awareness of the problem. The issue is, to your point, needing help in activating solutions because
Yeah.
the status quo is the way it is because a lot of people with influence have decided it's okay, that it's tenable. In some cases, it's profitable, right? And it's going to take when you when you make change, there's
Yep.
always a pushback. There's always a cost, and you need your folks in community to come with you and say, "I'm not doing this change just because I want to see it change by myself. I'm accountable to all these folks who are rolling with me, who are like, no, this has to change." But that only happens if you're activated, and people just aren't engaged locally. They don't go to city council meetings. They don't even vote in local elections, and they just complain on Facebook. And then you have folks who want to make change, but they're going up against folks that don't want change, and there's no one backing them up. And the easiest to
Hmm.
do once you're elected is to do nothing. There's no
Yeah.
pushback when you do nothing. In fact, you oftentimes get promoted because you ain't made no one mad. If you get in the seat and just go to all the chicken dinners and ribbon cuttings, you're good. But when you actually try to
Mm,
do things, there's a pushback. So you need community with you so that folks realize you're not pushing by yourself. That and then like I said earlier, you don't have to do it for your whole life, but I do think democracy is a team sport. I do think there's a role for everyone. So maybe it's not an elected office, but can you be a planning commissioner? Can you be on whatever the boards of commission in your community are? Or maybe you don't want to be mayor forever, but can you be a mayor for 4 years, or a school board member for 4 years, or a city council person? Like these roles aren't like forever roles. They're just roles for a particular amount of time. So
mm.
find a way to engage. And again, it's scary to put yourself out there.
Yeah,
Again, it feels very opaque and unknown. But I'm not saying run for president. That does
right.
require like a lot. But you can run for school board. And I think, and I'll be quiet after this, and deep love to all my local electeds that are good, but a lot of them aren't that impressive. A lot of them aren't like the folks you like, they don't know. Like a lot of them just
Right.
were put there by some interest group sometimes. So that should just free people and recognize and realize that if you have a heart to serve, a willingness to listen and to read, you are above 99% of folks in, in local office. And you should be a part of the ecosystem. You don't just have to complain. You could do something about it.
No, I totally agree. And I tell every new entrepreneur, every young entrepreneur, the quickest way to success, at least for me, was partnering with my local government and my city officials because I could do events and invite them there. And then what would happen is, hey, Mick, we're having this meeting. We'd love for you to attend. We'd love your insight. And even if you're not a local serving business, right? Because for me, I started my career as an insurance agent, right? And I
Mhm.
wrote all over the country, but I tell you, I dominated where I lived, right? Not from an insurance perspective, but I was very visible in my community because here's why, right? If Michael's in Stockton, right, and I'm in, I don't know, let's just say I'm in New Orleans or whatever, and I want to do business with someone in Stockton, I might reach out to Michael and get his expertise or his criticism or what is it like working with Mick, right? Like people actually do that. You would be surprised how many people reach out to other officials of other cities and towns and counties to see what you're doing, right? And so like I tell every young business, dominate your hometown or wherever it is you live. Dominate there because by you supporting, and you don't have to support politically, right?
Yeah.
But by you supporting your city officials, that love comes back to you at some point, some kind of way, like every time.
So
Every
smart. Or also, since being mayor, I've done some startup investing in government technology startups and just letting people recognize that there's so much wealth created through government contracting. Like the government
right.
contracts for garbage, like for a variety of things. And there's people who have built their wealth of having a relationship and providing a service to the government they pay taxes to. And I think a lot of people miss that opportunity as well. That if
Yep.
you should just want to do good for your community, to your point, to do good. But if you need another motive besides sort of the reputational currency you gain, there's literally government contracts, and those contracts go through an RFP process. But you'll know about the RFP if they know you. Like,
So literally, I didn't want to say it, but since you went there, being in insurance, that's what I did, right? Like I worked with, franchise restaurants. I worked
mm,
with construction companies that worked with a lot of municipalities. And
mm,
so I knew that the municipality in Dallas, Texas was probably going to call where I lived just to validate me, right? But then I could put Michael as a reference on the RFP that I'm filling out because there's no greater reference for a municipality than the municipality where you live, right? There
yeah.
is no better reference. It's like Michael can fact check and say, oh, yeah, I do know that guy. He's good. He's doing some things for us too. And so, again, every young business, even the existing businesses, and Michael, I love your insight on this too. You would be surprised at how many government RFPs that are out there for a plethora of different businesses, right? Like a lot of times we think of banks, financial insurance, contracting, that's where all the bids are. There are technology bids. There are, community economic development bids that can bring in a bunch of people together. Like there are so many RFPs.
Janitorial bids, like
Exactly.
in the offices,
Yeah.
take out the
Like I, so
trash.
I'm going to throw something out there that people don't know too, because now podcasting is a thing. I've seen some media specifically wanting podcasters for certain events, and it's like, hey, what's your fee? And I'm like, oh, I do this for free. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah.
It's a whole opportunity. And part of why I'm passionate about government, besides like the policy piece, is that I've just seen so many families in Stockton have become wealthy and generationally wealthy because of government contracts. But they're not the only people that pay taxes. Like we
Right,
all pay taxes,
right.
and we all should benefit or have an opportunity, a shot to be part of the wealth that's created through the government spending our taxpayer dollars,
Yeah.
and just making sure that process is equal.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. Michael, another reason you're my hero is this. Sitting in political climate, right? You're going to face resistance. You're going to face public scrutiny. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent. You're never pleasing 100% of the people, and it's the people that sit on the other side. Again, I don't care what it is that you're going to face the public scrutiny from. How do you deal with that, or how did you deal with that piece? Because for me, I'm going to tell you, I don't know if I have the patience. I shouldn't say that. I don't know if I have the peace within all the time. When I just want to say, look, it's not my fault, but I can't say that publicly, right? Like, how do you deal with that, or how did you deal with that piece of the
yeah,
political world?
definitely not perfectly, but I think having a not as robust as it probably needed to be, but having some sort of mindfulness and spiritual practice. Like I would read like Psalms 37 before city council meetings, particularly tough ones that says fret not because of evildoers, for they
Mm,
will soon wither. Just like reminding myself that this is a moment, but this is not like a forever thing. Um, and then I also think just being very focused on what it was I was trying to get done and keeping the focus there. And
yeah,
thirdly, I would say also I didn't not a perfect job, but I would try not to read the comments on social media. I would try not to. I was like, I want to hear criticisms. That's fine. Like we could be doing better, but anything personal, I don't want to hear.
yeah,
Because that's when you get in your ego. So like, if I talk about like, cause then you'd be like, I'm doing
yeah,
wrong. So I'm like, no, no, no. Like, share with me critiques of the work. I would tell my team, but don't if it's like I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. I don't want to hear all that because that's not going to help me do what I want. Like we need to focus on work. That and then I mean having a group of people you could like talk with though and talk mess with and crack jokes and say how you really feel with before you go out into the arena was also helpful. Um, yeah, the group chats were very helpful.
So, another thing that I'd love for you to kind of debunk, or the myth is public policy and innovation, right? Like what's one myth that you could debunk about the perception of public policy and innovation?
Yeah, I think there's several. I think one myth is that government can't be innovative. Like government just by design it can't be. And that's just not true. It's not easy to do, but it's possible. It
Yeah.
just takes catalyst. It takes leadership. It takes like activation energy to push. I think the second myth about public policy innovation is that all innovation is good, right? And I think as someone who likes change, who values innovation, I think being in government taught me that no, innovation can be good or bad. Like
Yeah.
innovation in and of itself isn't a virtue. Like change in and of itself isn't like virtuous. That like it's
Yeah.
what's it for? What's it doing? What are the impacts? And I think the third sort of myth around public policy and innovation is I think some people think our policy making system is rooted based off like rigorous debates and data and like the smartest people on a particular topic coming together to devise a solution. And it's literally the opposite of that. Like, actually, I would submit our public policy is made based off like vibes and
Mm,
biases, and folks didn't have coffee this day. Like, there's all type of weird, non-objective, data-driven things that create policy. And I think people should know that, no, like, question everything, like research everything, because
yeah.
a lot of what we hold as true, or a lot of things, like, well, someone thought about this. Like, of course it's like this. Like, someone smart thought this is the right thing to do. 99% of the time, no one thought about it. Folks just voted, or folks just made, or folks just made a decision based off their limited knowledge, or based off what their friend who has a friend told them,
Mm,
versus like actually like thinking it through.
yeah.
Which is why we do need innovation for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So for the young leaders that are out there, because you're one of the best leaders that I know, you're one of the best change makers that I know. So for a young leader that is inspired to make change in their business, in their community, in their network, what's one piece of advice you have for that leader?
My grandma taught me this scripture that's super helpful, and it is in like the book no one reads, the book of Zechariah, and it says, "Do not despise small beginnings, because the Lord rejoices in seeing the work start, the work begin, the beginning of a
Mm,
process." And I think oftentimes, particularly when there's so much need, and particularly when you're young and energetic and have a real vision, there is a desire to start at the top. It's funny coming from me because I was mayor at 26. But before I was mayor, I spent 4 years on city council. Like, I spent time learning local government. So despite the fact I was young, no one who was running had more local government experience than me, because I had spent 4 years in the political system, understanding how it worked, and
yeah.
treated that job like it was mayor, like it was the most important political job in the world, like I was the president. And I think before that, as a high schooler, I was a
Yeah.
youth advisory commissioner. I was a volunteer teen on the city commission, like city council, teen city council, and I would prepare the meetings, and I would read Robert's Rules of Order, and like treated that job very seriously. And it's funny because the scale changed from youth commissioner to council person, from council person to mayor, but the fundamentals of the job didn't change. And it was like that,
Mm,
the skills I learned at the beginning, at the start, when there wasn't a lot of spotlight, when there wasn't a
yeah.
lot of pressure, when the stakes weren't as high, I learned how to run a meeting. I learned how to build coalitions. I learned how to speak in public. Like, all those things became prerequisite skills for the next promotion and the next promotion. But had I treated it, that first thing, like it was dumb, like no one cares, like, oh, I should be the mayor already, then I wouldn't have been ready when I got to that seat. So I would just tell folks, like, having, and the corollary to that, and it's gonna sound mean and kind of grouchy, but it's true. Like, passion without competence is irrelevant. Like being
Mm,
passionate about something isn't enough. Like, passion's good though, like, but you have to marry it with like some discipline, some study, some understanding.
yeah.
Like, you can't just be like fired up, or even a little bit more, mean a little bit, even lived experience
Mm,
by itself isn't necessarily enough. It's important. Like, if you've experienced something, that's good, but we have to marry that with some knowledge, with some understanding, with some, yeah, just you have to know how it, like, I think so many people jump into things, and particularly into leadership, just from passion.
yeah.
And passion is necessary but not sufficient. Like, you have to marry that passion with like some knowledge, like some
Mm,
reading, like some understanding of what it is you're trying to do, or else you're not, you may make a bad problem worse. Um,
yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, Michael, I know a lot's going on. Very gracious of your time. What all are you up to now?
Yeah, I'm running for lieutenant governor of California. Um, so like the vice president of the second largest, fourth largest economy in the world. So that's taking up a lot of time. And then I run a group called End Poverty in California, where we're focused on sort of what are some policies in California that can make the California dream real for everyone, and not just the people lucky enough to go to Stanford. And then I also run a group called Mayors for a Guaranteed Income, which is a group of mayors and county officials now and legislators, over 230 elected officials across the country who are trying to figure out sort of how do we make it so that everyone has a floor to stand up on. I think oftentimes people talk about ceilings. Well, like
Mm.
before we talk about a ceiling or a cap, let's just talk about the floor. And actually, if everyone has a floor, we won't need caps. Like if everyone has a floor to stand on, then people can build as high as they want to build. But right now, we don't. Some people don't have a floor. So like, how do we just build a floor for everyone, like a baseline level of a bare minimum standard of living that no one goes underneath, so that folks can build on top of that as much as they want. So that's, and I have 3 kids, so and a wife. So all that is what keeps me busy.
So you got nothing going on, is what you're saying, huh?
Yeah, really nothing. Just hanging out.
I love it, man. Well, if I can support you in any way, I definitely want to. Where can people find and follow you and connect with you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram or on X at Michael D Tubbs, MichaelDubbs, and you go to my website michaeltubbs4ca.com.
Got it. I'll make sure we have links to all that in the description and show notes. Every time I reference this episode, this clip, I'll make sure that it's there as well. I'll also have it on my website too, man, because it's that
I
important. I
appreciate
want to
you.
make sure that I am supporting you thoroughly.
You're too kind. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You got it. And for all the viewers and listeners, remember your because is your superpower. Go unleash it.